big part of this how is also this concept of belief, belonging, come. And I've been touching on this in and out. You'll see kind of this stuff, it all interconnects. I try to make it linear so you can make sense of it, but it's an interesting journey across a lot of fronts. Let's talk about what I talked about in convention last year, okay? So I'm pulling from a different presentation. Here's the ethos again. And you'll notice this particular one here in the corner. This was a big initiative, gosh, 2011, 2012-ish, where we were trying to help people understand the relationship between these three concepts. I'm utterly convinced, by the way, that this is the only way to win. If you're having trouble with your team, what I'm about to talk to you about is the essence of it. And it's this believe, belong, become relationship. So let's talk about this for just a minute. First thing I want you to notice is these aren't separate dynamics here with these two little bullet points. They're actually arrows. I want you to first think about that. Is there a relationship between believing and belonging? Okay? And is there a relationship between belonging and becoming? And what I'm about to show you today is there's absolutely a relationship between these things. And by the end, you'll see that it's really not even it's not even linear. All right, so let's talk about this. What do you believe in? I'm going to tell you right now, we fight wars over resources. The most underutilized resource in the world is human. Somewhere in the gig, a teacher, a neighbor, a friend, somebody along the way starts feeding you some messaging about yourself that starts to erode your confidence. And isn't it amazing how much energy and life we give to the comment from a third grade teacher who says, you're not good at math, or a PE teacher that says, you're slow, pick it up. I have some interesting opinions about school systems and how they treat people and how it starts to define them. I'm going to talk about that if time permits. I'm going to talk about that a little later. I talked about that last week in Mexico. Guys, I'm giving you permission to leave the trash in your head about what you can and cannot be. Just get rid of it. Who cares? Any mistake you made, why are you burning energy on it? We got today and tomorrow. Come on. I'm amazed if we just worked on this one thing. I told the story in Ireland last year about my son. I watched him playing basketball, and that kid in the front driveway, and when he's taking on his day, he's trash talking me. He's 9 years old, he loves to play, and then he would get out on the floor and he would just seize up. We get him in the car, and I'm like, James, what is up with you, dude? He goes, what do you mean? I said, what was the first thing you were thinking about when you got the ball? I go, stop, don't answer me. What was the first thing you were thinking about? He goes, pass. I said, that's a good thing to think about, but it doesn't have to be first. If you got an open shot, take the shot. And then I had this immediate sense of clarity that was, oh, sorry. You're okay, you're okay. You know what? It's okay. I said to him, I said, James, I want you to miss. I'm giving you permission to miss. And you know what? It was like, boom. Can't we just give each other permission to miss?
Yes.
Let's just miss. Why do we have to think that we're going to shoot 10 out of 10 and make all 10, or we're going to bat 1,000? Come on. So I said, James, your job is to miss. Miss. And when you miss, your job is to miss again. And that kid started playing his heart out. By the time he had a game-winning shot with like 10 seconds left, this is last year, I mean, that kid's confidence went through the roof. And then he started playing, the kids voted him captain. You see how this happens, right? Last little while, he's playing in a tournament this weekend right now. And Allie said to me, you know, Ty, his confidence is coming back down. He's struggling again. What could have done that to him? Played a tough game, had somebody on the team tell him something. Coach maybe pulled him out in the heat of the moment and said, James, what are you doing? That's your man. And pretty soon, that tank starts to seep out like a pinhole in a balloon, and it starts to get like, what? Come on. So guess what I do as a dad? And I start going, come on, dude. Don't have unintelligent conversations with yourself. Now, I'm going to talk about this at the end, I'm bleeding forward a bit, but guys, can you just take, my dad was 69 when he started this business. How many people have the audacity at 69 to start anything again? Right? I mean, besides family stuff, who's going to start a business at 69? Bless the man's soul. Bless his soul. And despite my saying the last chapter in his book was going to be his worst, you know what he says to me? Doggone it, he says it and he's right. He says, this has been the best 10 years of my career. And he's had some killer years working with very high-end players. So you got to start with yourself. And I'm asking you, miss. How about this? Miss and don't care about it. You go talk to somebody about this and they don't want to do it with you, or they want to take a shot at you, declare your independence from their response. Your job is to be a helicopter and find the accident. So just help. Just help. Somebody takes a shot at you at a family dinner, Control, Alt, Delete, redo. I'm not on trial and I'm not interested. I'm sharing something that you can either react to, you can ignore, I don't care. In other words, miss. Shoot and miss. Now, what happens if you miss one time and you never shoot again? Does that happen a lot? I'm telling you. After every game, there's this beautiful kid on his team named Cruz. He's the cutest guy. Cruz has a beautiful left-hand shot, and he won't shoot that ball for love nor money. I watch him warming up, so I pulled him aside and said, Cruz, you have to miss this game. You hear me? You have to miss. I literally said, Cruz, don't tell your dad. I'm going to give you $5 every time you miss. He's looking around for his dad. I'm trying to get people to feel good about trying and missing. Go read Brene Brown. Go read the shame research. We kill ourselves because we miss. Please, guys, start here. This concept, right? This is a really cool concept. Once we believe, what's the next thing? We risk. We risk missing. Once we believe, we risk curiosity, we risk wonder, delight. But if you never shoot, if you never try, it's not going to happen. Essentially, what reveals your human spirit requires you to believe enough in yourself to be willing to miss. That's what this is saying. Once you believe, you're not on trial. You're going to go forward. And you're going to risk curiosity, wonder, delight, doesn't matter. James doesn't score that winning basket unless he believes enough to shoot. I love my mama. You guys know my dad, and I'm telling you guys what you don't know, and you may never ever have a real chance to know, is my dad's nothing without my mom. Nothing. I'll show you this picture I shared last year. This is one of my favorite pics of my parents. My mom is literally light. She is like the sun in my family. She is light. And she would have us remember stuff all the time at our house. And one thing she never let me go to school without was she saying, you make it a great day. Mom, have a good day, I'm running out the door. She'd go to the door, she'd open the door and say, you make it a great day. We gotta believe in ourselves and our ability to make some things happen. I love my mama for that. Okay, what about these products? You gotta believe in these. We got the story. We got both sides. Frankly, we got like the secret weapon on that one side, but we can play both sides of this thing. Last year I shared this notion of Dr. Michael's response. He said, you know, when you think about the biochemistry in the body, I think of a pair of fantastic dancers. They're on a ballroom floor, they're moving perfectly together, it's choreographed, it's intricate, and they complement each other. And they can adapt, right? Music change, tempo change, anything that happens outside, they work together. And then he said, but wow, what happens if I take one of the partners right out, just swipe it right out? He says, you take one out of the picture, you don't have the same fascinating couple anymore. In fact, it might even look a little awkward, right? Even though they're talented. What's he getting at? He says our product set is essentially putting both of them back together. You got to have redox signaling, which is the transfer of energy and communication, coupled with good nutrition. And pairing those two things is really, really like those two dancers. I thought that was awesome. A great metaphor. So understand you got both sides with both these product sets. We've tried really hard to build these that have two things. We want them to be high impact and high integrity. That matters to us. And we're constantly testing and checking to make sure that what we know is supposed to be in here is in here. And there's a lot of trade secrets that go into what we do. If you've ever been to the plant, you can see it, but you don't know all the things we know. But there's high impact and high integrity in the design side. When you believe in a thing, believe in it all the way, right? So please, please, guys, think about that. I'm going to start moving a little quicker. What about this company? I understand you have good reason, and so do I, to not trust companies, right? Companies don't necessarily always have the right to be trusted. I think you trust people, potentially people running a company, but companies are nothing more than a stack of people. Our growth, we haven't been a flash in the pan, but I'm not at all problematic about showing that curve. Last year, we did better than the projection. This year, we're literally chasing that kind of a curve. It's starting to scale in a way that deserves anybody's attention in the industry. Steady growth. Chuck used the metaphor that, once you get a plane off the ground, there's a lot of energy to get it off the ground. It's starting to go. You guys know that we're trying to be a force for good in the world. I love the simple concept of better people's lives, be a force for good. There's so many forces for bad. There's too much of that. If we just create a company that's trying to help people have a better life and just be a force for good, because I'm kind of getting tired of how many forces for bad there are out there trying to act good. What if we just decided to try to be good and do good? That's what I love about what we're doing. We do want to become recognized leader in cellular health and redox technologies. We are trying to distribute, which is evidence of me being here, not just products, but also a culture and a financial opportunity. That's why Terry would have me down here to talk on a Saturday about things that are a little bit less financial, right? But more kind of inside. That matters a lot to us. We obviously are using my dad's process. We have a very, very clear strategic set. We check in on these strategies using those disciplines every year. And beyond the strategy, we have a great team of people working with us. Not the least of which is Karen Riley, who I love and appreciate in a great way. When you start looking at opportunity, there's a lot of different ways to make a dollar here too. And if you had told me that the checks that are currently being earned by many people in the beginning, I just wouldn't have believed you. But the money folds. It's real. And they take it at the bank. I really had no concept of network marketing and the economic potential it represents. And so this is real. And you ought to spend some time getting to understand how that works. And that might be as much just you taking a Saturday morning or something saying, I really want to unpack this and understand what are the vital behaviors that I need to put in play to make this sing. We put together a culture last couple of weeks ago. This was published. We're number 70, I think 77, but they misstated our numbers. We actually finished better than our projections, so we're currently like 75th or 4th in the top 100 in the world. And this will be fun to climb. I was thinking this morning, this is like the Billboard 100, like the song's going to keep getting better. And I do see a vision of us being in the top 50 and the top 25, and frankly, top 10. Now, I'm not going to go say number 1. I still think I'm going to be the best, but I'm going to be in the top 10. Okay? Chucky here with the best company to work for in Utah, several years running. We've been voted by that. This is an anonymous survey we give out to our employees. We don't have any say in this. Utah Business Magazine goes out, asks our employees how they feel about work, coming to work. And we either get awarded this by our employees or not. And we've been consistently for several years in a row ranked as a top company to work for in the state. We get picked up in the direct selling news several times. This was an article last year that talks about us. You got to believe it's a great organization, guys. It really is worth your conviction and confidence. Real quick on the industry, I shared this last year. There's a lot of big industries that get a lot of love and attention that people tend to think are bigger than ours. Movie industry, NFL, network marketing is a $190 billion worldwide industry. It is not a game. This is a monstrous field of play. And people tend to have, ignorant people I might add, tend to have their own interpretation of its scale or opportunity. I'm not terribly interested in their feelings, but you show them this, I'm like, come on, man. This is a phenomenal industry. There's a lot of revenue and a lot of good things in commerce happening in this space. This was the same article that just called that out last year. Okay, this is probably what leads me to the natural belonging. You gotta believe in each other. And when you believe in each other, right? When you say to somebody, I believe in you, way more important than impressed with you or just tell people you believe in them. We don't say this enough to each other. When you start saying this to someone, guess what? When you actually believe in another person, what do you think the natural thing that follows? If you believe in each other, guess what you do? You belong. Don't you want to be around people that you know believe in you? Don't children want to be close to grandma or mom or somebody because they're just, you can do it, you can do it? I don't want accomplices in my life. I want friends. I want people that believe in me despite my weaknesses. And then the relationship is when you believe, it's very natural to pivot and say, man, I feel like I belong here. But that's just helping people to feel right. So let me ask you this relationship to believe and belong, I think we forget this stuff. We're forgetting this stuff. We're forgetting this stuff in the world as a whole. Guess what, people? I go to Singapore, I go to Hong Kong, I go to Taiwan, I go to Thailand, I go to Mexico, I go to Canada. I go to Germany, I speak in Norway, I'll be in Finland, I'll be in France. I get around. And you know what I'm finding? We belong to each other. We belong to each other. We gotta quit acting like we don't. And people are craving that feeling. They're looking for it. They don't know where to find it. Well, guess what? Have them come here. You know the hierarchy of needs. Basic needs, physiological, safety, love and belonging is the number 3 thing. People search for it. And if we can create a safe place for that to happen, then that's our job. Okay? This ethos is all about that. This ethos, the Ubuntu concept, let me go back. This Ubuntu concept is from South Africa and Southern African countries. I was in South Africa in December, got off the plane, got in a taxi, and I said to the guy, I said, tell me what Ubuntu means. He goes, how do you know about that word? I said, because I'm building a company and I'm trying to teach and promote it. Tell me what it means to you. He goes, it means humanity. And I said, we teach it as I am because we are. He goes, that's right. Nobody should interpret themselves as separate from another. How we treat each other is a reference point to our humanity. I asked the people at the hotel, I asked people at restaurants, I asked them, and they all knew what Ubuntu was. They had built a culture around that kind of humanity. When you believe in each other, you belong to each other, okay? When you belong to each other, what do you think you do? When you feel like you belong, what do? You guys all right? I'm at work. I need to get you some grub or something. When you believe and belong, what happens next? What comes when you belong? Okay, there's becoming, confidence goes up. When I feel like I belong to you and you belong to me, what are some of the natural things you would expect to have happen? What is my wife? Love, importance, trust, security, you help, support. These are all the words of belonging. My son belongs to me. I'm worried about his clothing. I'm worried about him being healthy. I'm worried about him learning and growing. I'm worried about where he is at midnight. I'm worried, I own him. If I say to you I'm long Coca-Cola stock, that means I own it in the financial world. When you say I'm long Apple. If you ever heard that, if you're watching a financial channel, they go, I'm long Apple, I'm long Coke. That means to own. To belong is to own the relationship. So if you belong to each other, you serve each other, don't you? Now, I'm going to share with you guys my favorite quote of all time, of any quote. Memorized this when I was a 25-year-old man. I remember where I was. I sat down in the car, I was on a book on tape, and I said, this is the game for me. If I could, on my headstone, put one thing, it's this. I can't fit it. Unless it would be oversized headstone. I would E over P. Service is the virtue which distinguished the great of all time and the virtue by which they will be remembered. Service. It places a mark of nobility upon its disciples and is the deciding and defining line which separates two great groups of the world. Ready for the groups? Those who help and those who hinder. Those who lift and those who lean. Those who contribute and those who only consume. How much better it is to give than to receive. Service in any form is comely and beautiful. Now here it is, guys. This is my goosebumps section. You got to feel it with me. To give encouragement, to impart sympathy, to show interest, to banish fear, to build self-confidence and awaken hope in the hearts of others. In short, to love them and to show it is to render the most precious of service. Now I'm going to highlight these words. Look at these beautiful words. Help, lift, contribute, impart sympathy, show interest, awaken hope. What happens when Craig walks across the street to Jason? What's happening there? He's showing interest, imparting sympathy, banishing fear, giving encouragement, probably building hope. What happens? In Denver, Peg used to tell me this story. Retired school teachers got the Asea bottle. Guy across the street has never made it out to his mailbox and back without oxygen. Struggling. She watches this, crosses the street with a bottle of Asea. The story he told me, standing at a convention, was, I was furious with her. Oh, so you're a retired elementary school teacher, and you're going to solve a problem I've had for 12 years and no one can fix. Takes the bottle, slams it on the kitchen counter. His hair was down to here. He lived in his pajamas most days. He never left the house. Goes out to the mailbox, takes oxygen off to go out to the mailbox, comes back and says, wow. This is 4 or 5 days after deciding I got nothing to lose and tried it, sitting, walking past it. And now he's standing in front of me. Clean cut hair, handsome man. He says, I can't believe I'm standing here right now. Give encouragement, impart sympathy, show interest, banish fear, build self-confidence, awaken hope in the hearts of others. Come on, that's belonging. When somebody's worried about me to the point where they're saying, I got you. I keep a list of people I do this with. Too sacred for me to share with you, but I got my list. And if somebody crosses my path that needs one of those things, and I'm aware of it, it's mine to do. If somebody crosses your path, and you become aware of them, it is yours to do. And especially each other in this room. That's what we need to be doing for each other. My favorite word of all of them, build. Build others, don't build checks. My mom used to make me memorize this poem in the kitchen, on the fridge. I watched them tear a building down, a gang of men in a busy town. With a ho, heave ho, and a lusty yell, they swung a beam and a sidewall fell. And I asked the foreman, are these men skilled? The kind you would hire if you had to build? And he gave a laugh and said, no indeed. Just common labor is all I need. I could easily wreck in a day or two what a builder has taken a year to do. And I thought to myself, as I went on my way, which of these roles am I trying to play? Am I a builder who works with care? Do I measure life by rule and square? Am I shaping my deeds to a well-laid plan, patiently doing the best that I can? Or am I a wrecker who walks the town, content with the labor of tearing down? I'd come home from school, and if I said something negative about somebody in my house, she'd say, I can easily wreck in a day or two what a builder has taken a year to do. You telling me you can't choose to find something good to say about that person? We should build each other. I'm done. I don't have the perfect body. I don't have the perfect this or that. I don't give a rip. Let's build each other and quit fixating on what we're not. Help each other build. Can I get like an amen or something? Now think about the power of this. We believe in each other. We believe in a product set. We believe in an opportunity. And please don't think these principles are just Asea. It doesn't matter where you believe. Find it at church. Find it where you go. I don't care. But when you believe common beliefs, bring people together. And that's where belonging occurs. So when you believe, you have this relationship to belong. What leads next? It's obvious. It's obvious you start to become. I've always said this play on words from the very beginning. The outcome is not income. You hear the play on words? Out and in. The outcome is not income. It's become. I know a lot of very wealthy people who are not happy because they stopped becoming. John Ruskin said, the highest reward for a person's toil is not what they get for it, but what they become by it. We run around trying to grow our business, and our business grows us. That's the game. Everyone says, I want to grow my business. Well, the struggle and the fight and the push grows you. And you're better in 2 years or 3 years. Better what? Better dad, better husband, better human. I don't care. But we need to focus more on becoming. You want to create a sticky organization that won't leave you on the next thing that passes by their face? You've heard of SOS, shiny object syndrome? When people see stuff, like, I want to go do that. You know what you want to do? You want to literally water the grass under your feet because that's where it's greenest. And you want to grow. It's not greenest on the other side. Get people thinking about becoming, and we win. All right. This is a great quote. Let today be the day you give it up on what you've been for who you're going to become. Start focusing forward. Our magazine, our recognition magazine, what's it called? We're not talking income here. You think these folks are making decent enough money? They're making enough cash, trust me. I'd much rather put your mind on where they're becoming. What are they growing and learning from this? The hierarchy of needs, where does it land? It lands at the top in self-actualization. This is the game. People wanting to feel like I've actualized myself. I've become what I have in my head I can be and what I am. I grew up on the East Coast in Connecticut. I loved the fall there. I loved it. We used to have acorn wars, just huge, huge trees at our house. I went home with some lumps on my head too. They were everywhere. I told a convention, I went out there and snuck to my old house, and I just scooped up a whole bunch of acorns from the front yard. And at Christmas, I gave all my siblings a jar of acorns from our yard. I said, that's our childhood together. And they've all got them on their counters. I'm a big fan of trees. I love to be outside. I love to hike. I love to be around nature. Guys, tree rings are growth on growth. The game is becoming. The game is tree rings for you. I want to track your tree rings. I want to know what you're doing and what you're becoming. Great. One more poem. You guys got to forgive me. My mom was amazing. This is a winner. If you've never heard this one, my gosh, this is a winner. The tree that never had to fight for sun and sky and air and light, but stood out in the open plain and always got a share of rain, never became a forest king, but lived and died a scrubby thing. The man who never had to toil to gain and farm his patch of soil, who never had to win his share of sun and sky and light and air, never became a manly man, but lived and died as he began. Good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger the wind, the stronger the trees. The further the sky, the greater the length, the more the storm, the more the strength. And by sun and cold, by rain and snow, in trees and men, good timber grows. And where thickest lies the forest growth, we find the patriarchs of both, and they hold counsel with the stars, whose broken branches show the scars of many winds and much of strife. This is the common law of life. Your growth is supposed to be challenging. Good timber does not grow with ease. Please don't come into this business, and certainly don't recruit people into this business by top spinning them that if they're just going to sign this gig, they're going to make enough money for a Maserati. Stop doing that. I walked down the hall, and I was in California. I walked down the hall, I looked in this room, and it was filled with people, and they were pumping pictures on the wall, big music going. And I'm like, I'll bet that's a network marketing meeting. So I was just kind of snuck in the back of the room. I was speaking in about an hour. And there I am, and it's tennis clubs and like sweaters tied around necks. And walking to dinner at their exclusive club. And I'm just like, really? Like, is that what I'm trying to do to get you to sign up to do something like this? That's the industry, unfortunately, in many ways. You know what's weird about this industry? Is it possible for me to overstate the income that can be made? Let me ask this. Is it possible for me to overstate the income? Can you make $100 million doing this? Can you make 200? Can you make 300? Can you make 500? Can you make $750,000 doing what I'm telling you? Can you make $1 million a year doing this? You know what? It's impossible for me to overstate the potential of what you can make. Is it possible for me to overemphasize it? That's the problem. We need to promote that it's impossible for me to overstate it, but it should not be overemphasized. You with me? I can tell you you're going to make $1 million, but is that the only outcome? No, the outcome is not just income. If somebody comes in here, sweeps in, happens to hit, lightning, catches it in the bottom, who cares? How many people make a spike? I want people to grow. I want someone to leave Asea, if they ever leave, and say, I became a better person because I was at a meeting in Frisco. I want people to become. If we can do that and make a safe place for people to miss, we're in good shape. All right, so can I just jam through the end of this real quick so I can get to my last few slides with you guys? You got to remember it's not just become, it's also overcome. You got to look at your challenges and let those be the good timber stuff. That's where good timber grows. The man who never had to fight for sun and sky and air and light, who stood out in the open plain, always got his share of rain, never became a manly man, right? Never became a forest king, but lived and died a scrubby thing. Overcoming is how you become, then you get to income. You with me? You feeling good? You hungry for lunch or something? I love my old man. Let me go back to this one. He used to always say to me, Tyler, you're going to be valued in this life, unfortunately, largely to the degree you make yourself valuable. Every human being should be valued because they're human. Yes. Right? But if you really want to become valuable inside an organization, well, work on yourself. Make yourself more valuable. My dad would drive home from work, and he would do vocabulary cards in the car. I found the old box. Some of you were in my training when I brought it. And he had a long drive, so he's like, I'm going to work on myself. So then when as a little boy, 10 years old, I'd get in the car with him, he'd go try to stump me. So I'd open the glove box, and I'd pull out the box and look at it. And what was my dad doing then? Proving he was the man? He was giving me a love of language. So I would say, egregious, and then he would go, egregious. He would say it like that. Egregious, egregious. His mistake was really bad. It was egregious. Egregious. It was like a spelling bee. And I'd put it away, and I'd flip it over and look at the definition, and I'd go, darn, Dad, you got that. He knew all the words. But what was he doing with me? So he was key on this. Have you ever heard, you know what the Harvard Classics are? Anyone know what those are? Yeah. The Harvard Classics are a 5-foot bookshelf of books that an old Harvard professor and dean once said, I could take 5 foot of shelf space on a bookcase and I could put the full liberal arts education that a person needs to have. And he said it on a radio interview, and then someone wrote a letter and challenged him to do it. So he curated a list of the greatest literature and put it into a 5-foot bookcase. You go to my dad's house right now, you walk into his library, you look up on the wall at the very top, there's a weathered pair of leatherback Harvard Classics. And what's even better than that is if you climb up and you pull one down and you open it up, you'll see markings in it. And he just set a goal, I'm going to read the Harvard Classics. He goes, I had Harvard grads reporting to me, and I came from the University of Utah. So I just said, right on, I'm going to outpace them. My dad never stopped. Never stopped. Below the ground is the belief and belonging side, but above is when you become. Right? A dear friend of mine passed away 2 weeks ago, a gentleman in his early 70s. I reached out to a guy that I had worked with him, and he said, Tyler, a great tree has fallen in the forest. And I said, amen to that. This guy was amazing. He had become. He had grown the tree, and he was so incredible. Okay, last thing, you're not alone. There's a forest. You're not the only tree. There's all of us working together. And we've got to work together across the board. I hope you notice that this is not linear. It's actually a process. It's a spiral staircase, isn't it? Because what happens when the becoming occurs? What happens when my son James makes a basket that's a game-winning basket? I'm happy, but his belief goes up. So he's become, he believes more. He believes more, plays to the team, belongs, says, I believe I should be here, I should be on this team. He becomes better. This becomes a cycle. This is an amazing quote. Amazing. The difference between success and failure in a corporation can very often be traced to the question of how well the organization brings out the energies and talents of its people. Okay? The basic philosophy and spirit and drive of an organization has far more to do with its relative achievements than technology, resources, organizational structure, innovation, and even time. This is a phenomenal quote. He's right. He's right. We unlock the potential of each other in this room. And then you know the drill, right? 5 people around you get the vision of what they can become, and 5 around them, and the numbers play out. We can do more with spirit and philosophy than we have to worry about with anything else. The good news is we have the right spirit. And we've got killer technology. We got it. Okay, so it's just really up to you guys to decide how you want to play. You need to take a look at inflection points in your life, moments in time that are turning points, and think of them as choice points. You got a decision to make when you're in this room today. Right now, you need to decide. It's an absolute inflection point. You can come out of this session and go, I'm done. I'm declaring my independence from my brother who keeps telling me I'm nuts, and my mom who won't even take a sip of this product. I don't care about that. People come up, you've heard me say it, my sister won't take it, what should I do? I say, leave your sister alone. Leave her alone. Leave her alone. You got a much better chance of her being interested in you when you show indifference to her. That's why I say indifference makes the difference. Quit bugging people, find somebody else. There's people who are looking, there's people who are willing. Why am I spending my time trying to change your eye color? I don't care. I'm going to tell you what I know. I'm not on trial. I'm certainly not going to approach you like I am. But I'm going to tell you with conviction what's going on here. And if you don't buy into it, I'm tipping hats and bumping fists, and I'm on. Right? You want to take shots at me? Unskilled, common labor. I can easily reckon a day or two when a builder is taking a That's unskilled labor. I have no interest in that. I want skilled labor. I want people who know how to build other people, who are committed to serving, who are committed to lifting, helping, encouraging, imparting sympathy, showing interest, building confidence. That's real for me. You get me around those people, I inhale that stuff. And I try to send it right back to them. I've had a successful career before Asea, and it was because of stuff like that. When you care about the people you're around and you invest in them, you win. Quit worrying about what people think about you. Just quit it. You got no reason to do that. We're in front of them. They're going to figure it out. What will you choose to do with it? You got to choose, guys. You got to decide. Now, Terry, I can stop at part 2 or I can speed through part 3. It's up to you. Everybody all right? I got you fooled.